you can either choose to lean into that chaos, or you can choose to lean into what's next.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Artist Date. I'm your host, Nicole Romanoff, and today we're sitting down with the incredibly talented Tonya Wanner, a photographer who has made a name for herself by capturing the essence of dance beyond technical perfection. After wrapping up a 3-day studio shoot myself, long days of movement, focus, and now endless editing, this conversation couldn't come at a better time. Tonya shares how she transitioned from insurance to photography, why she focuses on the in-between moments, and how she built a thriving business in a competitive industry. If you're a photographer looking to find your niche or an artist searching for inspiration, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. Let's dive into Artist Date with Tonya Wanner. Hi, Tonya.
Hi, Nicole.
How are you?
Oh my gosh, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on here. I feel so honored to be here.
Well, I feel honored that you're here. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to hear your story and just to chat with you and just have a good time.
Absolutely. And can I just say congratulations on not only the podcast, but your space, your workshops you're doing, just the way that you've really evolved in the last few years is it's really, really, really awesome to see.
That's so sweet.
Big congrats to you, girl.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
I appreciate that.
You and I go way back.
We do. High school years. So we're not going to tell you how long ago that was.
No, that was not long ago at all. Not at all. But I feel
a few years.
Yeah. I know you. So it's amazing to see all of this come from you.
Aw, well, much the same. I feel very much the same about you and all of your success. And well, since people know now that we went to high school together, I know a lot about you, but how about you can share with the audience a little bit about who Tonya is and what Tonya does?
Absolutely. Okay. So I am a Saskatoon born and raised girl. I come from a big Italian, big Ukrainian family. I'm a mom of 3 girls and a wife. And I am a photographer that has been in this industry for 15 years now, which seems like crazy to me. That's gone by way too fast.
Yeah.
And I had moved to Edmonton for a stint, a little bit of time with my husband shortly after we were married. And I was an insurance broker at the time.
Really? I didn't know that about you.
Yep. Talk about total different career paths, right?
Yes.
So not me. And it wasn't until I was actually pregnant with my first daughter, so 15 years ago, just over 15. And I was on mat leave and not feeling the insurance world. And I just decided that I was going to take a course online through the New York Institute of Photography back then and see where that took me. And that is kind of where everything started and everything changed for me.
That is a 180. And I feel like I have a similar story as well. I don't know if you know this, but after high school, I studied commerce at the U of S and then pursued more of like a corporate lifestyle where I was working for like a giant multinational company. Okay. And then after a layoff, that's when I kind of like had my aha moment that I didn't want to go back to that world, and then pursued photography with, both feet, not knowing exactly what that was going to mean, but knowing that a change was necessary. And just like we were talking about before, just kind of leaning into what feels right. So,
and good for you for taking that leap and not just staying with something that doesn't feel like you.
Yeah, exactly. I think looking back, I'm like, wow, that takes a lot of bravery. And
absolutely it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and for you as well, not just me, but So what kind of photography, let's share with the audience what kind of photography you do primarily.
Yeah. So, right now, my specialty is the dance world. That was not always the case. I started as a wedding photographer, a newborn photographer, families. I was a big yes girl, a big people pleaser when I first started, probably to a fault. I was that type of photographer that just, I wanted to do everything, which was good in the beginning because that is, I feel, how I learned mostly, by picking up your camera and doing everything, shooting everything, saying yes to things. And I did all of that until one day when after having my daughters, they were all in dance at the time, all three of them. So I was very much in the dance world. And I also grew up as a dancer. So I danced with Ukrainian dancing. I danced with Boyan locally, who my grandparents were founders of.
Really?
Yeah, my grandparents were partners and founders of Boyan Ukrainian dance. And then from there, I went on to Saskatoon School of Dance and then PFE, Pavlichenko. So I was very much in the dance world growing up, but then had a big lull and stepped away from it really early on. I want to say before the 2000s. So big lull away from the dance world. And then when my girls were in it, I was approached by the dance school that my girls danced with. They were starting up a dance competition locally, and they needed a photographer, not to do all of the photos for every single dancer, but more for their promotions and, you know, all of their ads and marketing. And they asked if I would be interested in doing it. And of course, yes, girl, that was me at the time. And I was like, yep, for sure, I could do it. Yep, I got it. And then the more I thought about it, I thought I can do it. But I told them, I don't want to be the type of photographer, though, that is standing at the back of the auditorium or in the stands shooting these pictures. I will do it for you if you kind of allow me to be actually physically on the stage, but off to one of the wings, and just getting the angles different than what you would typically see from a dance competition. So, of course, they were like, yeah, go for it. Stage is all yours. We trust you. And that's where that started. So first competition, first shoot at all in the dance world. And I came out of it completely different than when I went in. Because as I was shooting the dancers, I noticed myself, I was not looking for capturing the perfect Firebird or the perfect penché or the perfect leg hold or anything like that. I was really focused on the in-between moments of the dancers when they were on stage. So even though I was getting the timing and everything correct, it was all of those in-between photos that really was starting to catch my attention. So by the end of the competition, delivered the pictures and stepped away from that whole project and really kind of started thinking, what was all happening there? And from that point on, I walked into, which had just started at the time, The Well with Tammy and the wonderful table of women at the time. And it was my first time ever stepping into that door and going up those stairs to the brand new Well. And it was a big, courageous moment for me at the time, you know, stepping into a room full of new women, people you don't know. I didn't know Tammy at the time at all. And I went in to a coffee and connection with these women and sat around a table. And it was one of those coffee and connection moments, if you've ever been, where all of us women sat there and I was watching everybody kind of have their moment to pour their hearts out and talk about what they wanted to do with their life and where they saw their businesses going, their aspirations. And I had an aha moment, like literally sitting at the table with all these women. And I looked at them and I said, when it was my turn to speak and talk about what I wanted to do and kind of who I was. And I talked about how I wanted to shoot dancers, solely dancers, not shoot anything else anymore. And the reason to shoot these dancers was very, I guess you can say, out of the box. It was for the purpose of capturing them doing what they do, how they do it, what they love about dance, and capturing them candidly, forgetting about the camera in front of them, forgetting about a dance teacher in front of them, forgetting about their peers, simply just them in a room by themselves, dancing for themselves, and what that looks like.
Right. So more more about the authentic moment in capturing that, like the essence of the dancer, not necessarily perfection.
Absolutely.
Because in the dance world, it is always trying to achieve that perfection. And with that comes a lot of pressure on those dancers. Absolutely. And so I think that's genius that you decided to go that route instead of, because there's so many dance photographers out there who are focusing on getting the perfect penché, who are focused on getting the perfect Firebird, because that's what they think people want. But I think what's so unique about you is you're able to capture those perfect moments, but you do capture something special in more those like transition moments where it is more of an authentic, like you can really sense the expression and the creativity in those artists on stage.
Absolutely. And it's a total different thing. It's a different aspect of dance completely, right? To get them out of their head, out of the box completely, forgetting about that perfectionism, which they are raised to that, right? That is the goal. That is where you want to get to. So to teach those dancers how to forget about that for a minute it's art in itself.
So after you left that meeting at the well, what was your next step?
Well, it was first, I guess, Tammy looked at me when I was speaking, and I remember this so clearly, and she was like so intrigued. And she was like, okay, tell me more. Like, I need to hear more, the Tammy way. And I need to hear more. And she was just as excited as I kind of was. And we left that meeting, and she's like, Tonya, I have a shoot coming up, and I think it's meant for you. And she looked at me, and she's like, I think it's meant for you. I think you need to be there. And it was with a beautiful dancer, Maddie, a local dancer in the city. And she's like, I really want you to come. You need to come. So of course, I'll come. And she, we both worked together during this shoot. She let me have the floor just as much as she did. And she's like, just run with it. Do what is in your mind. And from that shoot, that's when literally everything changed. I stopped doing wedding photography. I stopped doing newborns completely, which was not my forte. It was not my love at all. And very minimal family shoots. I just kind of stuck back to the people that have always called me up every year. And I dropped that, put it all to the side, and solely focused on the dance world. So from there, it went into me starting a project called the YXC Dance Release. And it was individual dance shoots for local dancers where I would sit down with them and find out a whole lot more about them before the shoot, why they dance, what keeps them dancing. It was really important for me to know a lot about their dance journey and their struggles along with their goals and their personality. I wanted to know what locations they love around the city, why, what has meaning to them. And then I built their shoots around, for one, what they wanted to wear, not specifically a dance costume. It could be street clothes, whatever they felt really, really confident in, really great about.
I love that.
And we created a playlist for them. So it was their music that they showed up with. And during the shoot, I would talk to them before about how I am going to move around them and I want to capture them dancing. Not for me, as if I'm not there at all. I was really wanting them to focus on their breathing, for one. I wanted to hear them breathe. I wanted to hear the expression, essentially. When their dance mom would come with them, of course, because they always did, I would tell the moms or encourage them to step away for a while, walk away from the shoot, and they can kind of creep back in a little bit, but don't be such a presence, because I really wanted their daughter or son to be able to really let go and really dance for them. And I feel like when there's more people around,
they're not their authentic selves.
Yeah. So it was called the Dance Release, and it was, these dancers were essentially dancing on the streets of Saskatoon in all sorts of locations, in flower shops, in the mall.
I love this.
In all different locations that meant something to them, or even if it didn't have a meaning to them, but they really found it really cool.
They were inspired by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really diving into what they want, and then, serving that and bringing what is unique to you as well.
Yeah, because I think it rounded out the session in a way that it wasn't just about the perfect Firebird.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It was all them. When they looked back at their pictures, it looked like them. It was them in their clothes. It was with their point shoes on, sure, but
and so
looked
that
like
really
them.
put you on the stage for being like the dance photographer in town.
That's what started it. Yeah, that's what definitely started it. From that point, so social media I guess this was all pre-COVID days, so 2018, 2019. And Instagram was such a wonderful tool. It still is. But at that point, it was really different. Social media was really different. There was no TikTok yet or nothing like that. It was solely like Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
And so
the good old days.
The good old days. Oh my gosh, I would say so for sure. And so I would do, my posts were very regular, and I would have a dancer of the day. So every day I would post a dancer, and I would actually put up their why, their reason for dancing on each post. The post was them. It was all about them. And I would also collaborate and make sure I mentioned the clothes they were wearing, the shoes, the brands.
Smart. That's really great marketing.
It was. And what was funny is this all just kind of, it was such a natural thing. It came naturally to me, where I wasn't even really focusing on the marketing and the branding at all. Mm-hmm. I was posting about it, but that wasn't the focus. But it is what caught the attention of, Blush, of Capizio, of the big brands.
Wow.
So that led me to travel, to take this, to learn more from the biggest dance photographers in the world, in the States.
Where was that?
That was at the Pas de Deux Dance Conference in Phoenix.
Okay.
It was right before COVID, right before the world shut down. And it was a time where I really had to, at this time of life, I guess, I had something on my mirror, and I would look at it every day, and it was called, put courage before comfort. And I really had to just try to be my most courageous self, let it all go, and just dive into what I wanted to do. So hard as a photographer, right?
Well, and even as a mom, knowing you have to make this work. Did you feel that ever?
100%.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to be proud of me. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to look at, their mom as she's a business owner, but man, she's really working hard, and she's really trying.
Exactly. And I think that even your kids, say if you failed, I think they would still be
Mom
really proud of you,
know?
And I think that that's something to value as well, is taking that chance and going for it. And if it doesn't work out, what you kind of learn from that experience. But that was not the case. You did very well.
Oh, I had my days, Nicole. Oh man. But yes, I went down to Phoenix, and I had to bring with me a portfolio of all my work, of my dance work. And this conference was this was the very first year of the conference, and it was learning from the best dance photographers in the world at the time. Rachel Neville, David Hoffman, known as Shark Cookie on Instagram and the social world. Jonathan Givens, and just incredible Jordan Matter, incredible dance photographers that dancers looked up to. And showing up and sitting down with them, not only learning from them for the course of the 5 days, but providing a portfolio and sitting down at a table with them was a big leap of faith, and just letting it all go, right? Knowing that you're going to get the criticism, the constructive criticism, and wanting it, because that's only what's going to make you better.
Exactly. It's so hard to be open to that, but it's so important.
It's growth.
In order
where the
to
growth
grow.
comes from.
Exactly.
So sitting at a table with these photographers, and it was in that moment, again, where things changed and pivoted for me, because I went in there thinking I'm going to take everything that they are going to teach me, and I'm going to make it my own, but I'm going to just absorb. And when I sat down at a table with them, they looked at my portfolio and they heard about how I go about my shoots. And they looked at me and said, Tonya, nobody's really doing it like this. And they're like, I don't know if you know that, but yes, we are shooting very candid photos of, jumps and stills that look in motion, but in their faces don't look like they're in motion at all, which is amazing to me still. But nobody's capturing dancers while they're playing their own playlist, while they're listening to their own music, while they're letting go, while they're closing their eyes and just dancing. And you're capturing those in-between moments. So they really didn't have a lot to tell me when I brought my photos to them, which was mind-boggling at the time.
Yeah.
Because I was going into this thinking like, oh man, like I need to learn.
Right.
here they were essentially being like, keep going. You're doing good.
What were they teaching in terms of lighting? Was it all sort of a similar setup or?
No, everybody had a different one. Well, Rachel Neville from New York, she is the queen, of dance photography. It's all pro photo. Mm-hmm. And she would just teach, her entire workshops were taught about how lighting will change a photo completely and how the importance of the lighting will define their muscle tone, not define their muscle tone, will set the mood. If you take away the lighting, it's not the same photo, whether you want to believe it or not.
Yeah.
So her workshops were completely about lighting the dancers specifically for their body type and for their muscle and for what positioning that you're wanting to capture. If you're wanting to do an arabesque, you had to change the lighting, the angle. You had to have a boom. You had to do things differently.
Yeah.
Some taught about sandwich lighting, which was very, very cool because sandwich lighting does change the dynamic in your muscles and in your body.
Is that lighting from both sides?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right towards each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just two lights?
Just two lights, very dynamic lighting.
Like equal power?
Yep.
Okay.
Equal power and then and getting it right in camera is such a big one.
Yeah.
Less post.
Right.
The last post is going to save you all the time. So they were really focused on getting and teaching about getting it right in camera.
Mm-hmm. What kind of equipment do you use?
I am all I'm all
Godox?
Godox, yes. I was Ellen Chrome. Started with Ellen. Actually, it was a pay it forward moment because a photographer from Saskatoon who was getting out of the industry just in kind give me all of her lights.
That's amazing.
And then now I have
just gave it to you?
Just gave it to me.
Nice.
Yeah, to start. So yeah.
That does not happen.
No. So yes, I did start with Ellen Chromes. That does not happen. Not in this. I hope it happens more and more in our photography world.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was not happening. Photographers were not wanting to help
share
each other out
as much. Yeah. Okay. So you went. So you've learned so much at that workshop or convention. Would you say?
Yeah, it was a convention.
And then where did your journey go from that point? So you were doing the YXC dance release.
Yeah.
And you are really pursuing education.
Yeah.
For dance photography. And then what was next for you?
Came home from that conference, and that is, I guess, when the books just filled up with local dancers. So the local dancers who at that time, social media again, spreading the word, which I was beyond thankful for, because if it wasn't for them, I don't know where it would be right now, because they were the ones that promoted it for me. They were liking what I was doing. They saw what I did abroad and the dancers I got to work with in the States, which was incredible and so cool in itself. But they saw what I was doing, and so they were self-promoting it for me, and which I still, to this day, very, very, very thankful to all of them. So from there, it went on to dance studio owners that didn't know me yet, I guess, were starting to kind of hear about me. So then I was asked from the dance studio owners locally first if this is something that I could do for their studios. And of course, there's no possible way to do what I was doing exactly for them, the way that I was doing it. But, sleeping on it, humming and hawing, thinking, yes, at the time, yes, I can do this. I can do this. How can I do it for a full studio, but make it my own and make it different than what they're used to, and still being my authentic person and the reason why I do dance photography? So I thought about it and I said, yeah, I can do it as long as I can do it my way, which was, it is all about the environment, the experience for the dancers that come in and do the photos, not so much just about getting those pictures done for them quickly and out the door. Mm-hmm. So volume dance studio photos then took on its own part of my business.
And by volume dance studios, you mean like going in and taking thousands of photos of like groups and
hundreds of thousands of photos.
Oh my gosh. What a process that must be.
It is. And it is, like I say, it's a business in itself, for sure. And I would not be doing this alone. There's no way I could do this alone. So it started with a friend, local friend of mine, who has now been with me this is going to be our 6th year together. And through the powers of social media, again, she was in the dance world as well with her business. And I was in my own world of dance photography business. And hers was very different than mine. She's a jeweler, Rhythm Jewelry in Saskatoon, Tasha, big shout out. And we realized that with the power of collaboration, we have a very similar clientele, but very different businesses. And she was like, I can help you with doing volume dance. Like, let me help you. Let me be an assistant.
That's great.
I can help you.
Yeah.
So the volume dance studios started during COVID of all years. That was our first year. And we had to go about it in a way of, the dancers couldn't even be together at that time. Mm. They couldn't be touching. They couldn't be, Oh
my gosh. Yeah. They had to be, 6 feet apart or something?
I think that's what it was.
Oh my gosh.
That. So we started dance photography in such a time that it was a lot of work, more than what it should have been, but still trying to be what I wanted to bring to the table for these dance studios, which was, something in itself.
So has that changed, or how did you bring the essence of what you wanted to do into that sort of environment? Because I've shot a dance school as well. And in my experience, it's like you have 10 minutes or less in some cases to shoot not only a group of 30 people, but individuals. So it's like boom, boom, boom. But what's your process for making it unique and bringing your artistry into it?
Well, it was all about, I needed to be able to still capture them moving, right? So it's impossible to get that done in 15 seconds, right, per dancer. So I told the dance studios in the beginning that, I can do it. I need the time. So the scheduling just needs to be different than what you're used to, but trust the process and we'll still be able to get it done for you. The main focus is not about having the dancer just quickly run in front of you. It's about them feeling comfortable with you in the room. So I need that time to be able to make this enjoyable for those dancers, make them not nervous for a split second with everybody watching them.
Yeah.
So the whole process is all about the scheduling, having enough time to do the group photo, but then having enough time to do every single dancer right after that group photo, and taking photos of every dancer, because it's not even just about the photo that you want, that finished picture for the parent at the end, but it's about that time where the dancer gets to see all their peers doing it too. And each other. We found over the years that the dancers start cheering each other on.
Yeah.
They are becoming each other's support system. They're like, it's a whole different ballgame when when you have to take pictures of every single dancer, you get to see how dance photo day now becomes a really fun part of their season.
Wow. It's more of a celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in dance as well. And I feel like the dance world, from what I'm hearing and seeing, is a lot different than what it used to be, where it was, not only competition with other studios, but within the studios themselves, and maybe not so much of being a cheerleader for one another.
Yeah.
Whereas now I do feel like it is more of this, like you said, like a cheerleading aspect for one another, and celebrating each other and celebrating each other's differences too. Like not necessarily going for perfection, but almost more of like reaching for more of this like internal like artistry, or like celebrating what makes that person unique. So it is changing. And so that's great to hear that, you're allowing that experience to shine through your photos.
Oh, that's a big compliment. If I can be any sort of push in that direction to bring that change to the dance world. Oh my goodness.
Well,
but
that's great.
Yeah, it is evolving. It is definitely evolving and growing. And it's really great to see the dance world starting to change so much like that.
And this has really blossomed into something. So now you're shooting 15 studios.
Yeah, this year we have 15 studios scheduled, and that's with a wait list of studios across the province. And again, this is not just all me. I've had to pivot and tweak over the years, and evolve and change and lean into what maybe is forcing you to change.
Yeah. So what does your team look like?
My team, the dream team, is that what we can call it?
Yes, for sure we can.
Well, I have Tasha, who is my right-hand girl. She's been with me from the beginning, and she is my assistant. So she's the one that looks at the photos while they're being shot. She's culling them. She's deleting them as I'm shooting them.
That's so helpful.
It is at the end when you don't have all those pictures to go through.
Yeah,
that's a huge time, like off your shoulders.
Yeah.
So that was really important in the beginning. But her role also is one of just motivating the dancers, and she does such a good job of it, especially like from the little ones. She gets them smiling all the way to the older ones, where she's telling them to stretch more and get ready more before their photos start. And she keeps me laughing, that girl.
That's good. Keeps it light.
Yeah. And it's so important to have somebody in your corner that's like that, right? Mm-hmm. So she's been with me from the beginning. And then Danielle Stasiak has been now with me. This is going to be her second year with me. And same thing, she's just an incredible part of our team. Actually, between those two, I don't even know if I would be where I am in this moment today going on with this season, because they've been such a support in the last couple of years when I have really had to change and when I didn't have a choice but to change. So they've been my big cheerleaders and like, yes, I got you, Tonya, let's go. We got this. Mm-hmm. So them, I have an editing team. There's 2 editors that do all of the editing for me after. So I'm not doing any of that work.
That's great.
And
that's like such a dream to not have to, just to do like the shooting part.
Yes.
And worry about like the client experience and not have to worry about that after work as much.
Yeah. And in the beginning, I thought I could do it all myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So funny.
That's a lesson we all learn the hard way.
That is a lesson to learn. And oh man, you can learn a lesson or two from what I've been through in the past. But but I've learned, there was no possible way that this wasn't sustainable. I could not do this alone. If I wanted to do it alone and wanted to, what do you want to call it, gatekeep and like just think I can do this all myself, I would have broke harder than I actually did break. And there's no way that this could continue. It was not sustainable at all.
And so one thing about what it is that you specialize in is that it can be really hard on your body. Mm-hmm. Yes. I know that you went through something, so maybe if you want to share a little bit about what happened.
Yeah. Like I said, I started off being a people pleaser, right? So saying yes to everything. And that included thinking that I could do this all on my own in the beginning. And then thinking, Tasha and I can do this all on our own. We got this. And it became a bigger thing than just myself. So I think as a photographer, it's hard. We can all probably attest to this, how it's hard when it's your own name and it's your own art and your own ideas to give up control and yet
100%.
mentor others to do what you do, but also completely step aside and not be able to do it. So I am dealing with a neck injury, a serious one that happened to me in the summer of 2023, just as things were really, really starting to get big in the volume dance world. And then also outside of the volume dance season, the individual shoots to follow. So that injury, it had forced me to completely stop shooting totally, which as an entrepreneur and a business owner is freaky as all heck, right? You're like, now what? So I think you can either choose to lean into that chaos or choose to lean into what is happening around you and let it take over. Or you can choose to lean into what's next and how can I move forward and what does that look like? And I think that's such a pivotal time when you're forced to do something that maybe was not your plan and it wasn't how you thought it was all going to go.
Right.
But I think it happens for a reason, for sure. So when I was injured and I was not able to move, let alone pick up my camera, I did try. I tried to do a shoot. And it was a shoot that I really wanted to do because I'd been doing it for the U of S dance team for quite some time. And I didn't want to let them down. So I thought, I'm going to try. And I had to do half. I did half of that shoot. I got through half. And then I had to stop. They had to hire another photographer to do the other half of that shoot for them. And at that point, I thought that was it, like for now anyways. That was the time I had to put my camera down and close up my scheduling, which I had at that time because things were so pivotal and growing so fast. I had really big jobs, really big, fun, exciting jobs.
This must have been a very emotional time for you, you know,
to say the least.
just not only just like the physical pain, but just almost feeling like you're letting people down, like your clients down, and the fear of the unknown. Like, what does this mean for me?
Yeah.
I'm sure that was really hard.
It was very hard. It was unimaginable at the time because I didn't know what it looked like in the future.
The unknown.
The unknown. And it took having an amazing support system. And I really think it's important how you run your business and how you are even as a person and in this community to always be willing to help other people out and always be wanting to be that person that could be supportive of other people because you never know when it's going to come back around and when you're going to need that support. Yeah. So when this happened, it was my support system that was like, you got this, we got this. Don't worry about the season coming up because there was another dance season coming up in the spring of 2024 last year. That was the season I was really concerned about because I didn't know how it was going to roll. And it was Danielle and Tasha, first of all, other than my family and my friends, my close family and friends outside of my business that were like, Tonya, you got this. It might look different, but you got it. But Tasha and Danielle were like, we're with you for the season. We got this. And it might look different, but we can do it. So I just had to pivot, and I had to learn how to shoot very differently, not like how I ever thought I would do, but on a tripod, a rolling tripod, which did work. It absolutely worked. But was it different than how I wanted to shoot? Absolutely. Because you couldn't, as a dance photographer, I was
Like
used
to move around and yeah.
And you mean, I was used to, oh my gosh, Nicole, I was jumping and dancing and rolling around on the ground before
Sure.
and like doing all sorts of things while holding a camera, thinking I could do it all. So moving over to a tripod was something that I wasn't happy with, to be honest. I was angry.
Well, it's so different from how you used to work, and you probably felt maybe less creative. Like it was so different from your normal process that I'm sure that was hard to deal with as well.
Yeah, it was, because exactly, it's different than what you want to do and how you want to move forward and how you think that you can move forward. And when it stops you from doing that, you're just, it hits you differently. So I hired Danielle at that point, and she came on board to do all of the physical shooting for the most part for me. So I was still there right beside her, directing everything, like timing it out, counting the dancers in, and still positioning and telling them how to move and to get that perfect shot for the camera.
Right.
But she was the one shooting it for me, which helped.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it helped us be able to move forward.
And so that was last year?
So that was last year.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's shift into more of like your creative process. And I'm curious to know if there's like some common challenges you face when photographing dance, and how you overcome them.
Yeah. When it comes to the individual dance shoots too, I guess maybe we can start there. The challenges is every dancer is different. Every dance body is different. So you really want that dancer to feel like that you've got them, that they can be confident, that they can trust that you're going to be able to capture them in a way that they're going to be so confident and love their pictures. So the challenges come with, I guess, figuring out how to give that dancer space to just relax, which can be an art in itself. Yeah. And so kind of like making them forget about so many things that they've been taught just for the brief moment of you taking pictures. So it's like, even though you're taught to do it this way every day that you're in the dance studio, for this moment, just let it go. Just relax. So that's a big challenge, is I think at first, is just getting them.
Right. Because they're probably nervous and
Very much so.
maybe self-conscious, depending on what age they are, or scared in a lot of cases. How much direction do you give your dancers, and how do you balance that sort of structure with more the spontaneity?
The direction. So every time we do a dance studio for the very first time, the dance studio owners are, I guess, surprised with how much they can step back, even though it is their dancers and they know their dancers the best. I encourage the dance studio teachers or the owners to be right there beside me, because they know what that dancer can do and maybe what they can't quite do yet. So the direction I give is everything from, once I see their costume, once they come in front of me and I find out what kind of genre of dance it is, and already my mind is kind of quickly going. And there are things that I know that almost every dancer can do. It's just changing the angle a little bit for them, or just making it a little bit easier for them to step into or get into. But the direction I give them is, I time them, I count them in, I tell them where to start, and like where to start their turn and where we want to end it at, and what we kind of want that picture to look like in the end. And we help with the help of my assistants too. We help with skirt flips and throwing stuff at them. And
That's always the fun stuff.
That's the more creative stuff. As they get older, we can do all that fun stuff.
Right.
But for the direction, I pretty much would say I do most of it myself. with the assistance of the teacher there to be like, this is something that's in their dance. Can we do this?
Yeah.
Or can I have them do an arabesque? Is that okay? And it's like, yeah, for sure. But let's just like do it this way, or turn them to the corner. Or
are there any things that you try and avoid doing? Or if you see something, are there any things in particular, angle-wise or pose-wise, that you try and avoid?
Many things, Nicole. Many things. Well, for sure, we are really careful. And I also thank Tasha for this too, because she's grown with me over all the years of learning to like what does not look good in camera, what looks good on stage,
right?
But what does not look good in camera.
A lot of the time does not translate in a photograph. Yeah. It has to kind of have that two-dimensional look in a lot of cases. Otherwise, you're going to like lose limbs, or like a leg is going to look so short, or so big. Like,
you'll
depending
have
on
fingers
how
sticking out of legs, and you'll have all sorts of things.
Exactly. Yeah, it can be challenging.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. So she has grown with me in the way of like, we learn how to like position better and stuff, and what looks good on camera and doesn't. So there are certain things that we definitely stay away from, which, can I say, crotch shots for sure?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anything that's like that, we just angle that away from the camera. It's hard because sometimes there are dance poses that the best way for it to look the way that it's supposed to be is at the camera.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes a dancer will come and absolutely want to do something where once we show them the picture, because they're so adamant in doing it, so we want to give them a try, right? So we let them try, but then we show them quickly the photo and what it looks like. And then they're like, oh, yeah,
they see it.
Okay,
like,
now I see it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just showing them.
Right.
And then they understand that, like, okay, we trust you. Okay, you do know what you're doing. I think we can try something different. So crotch shots for sure, something that we definitely stay away from.
Have you noticed any emerging trends in dance photography that you're excited to try?
Yes. You know what? You can never stop learning in this industry. And I've tried, with the thanks of traveling and learning from other photographers, I've tried the water shoots. I've tried the powder shoots. I've done big fabrics and materials and textiles. And I love, if I could shoot that all day long, oh my gosh, I'd be in my happy spot, playing with props and playing with textiles and playing with fabrics.
Yeah.
So I would love to continue that for sure. And then something else that is always worth trying is just playing with your lights. Like if I had all sorts of different props and everything to put onto my lights, I would say I could do that all day long too. Angles and changing and
yeah, it's just like a playground.
It is like colors, endless colors. Like it really, and it's different because every dancer, like you think, oh my gosh, how can I make it so that my photos don't always look the same? And they'll never look the same because you always have dancers coming in with their own unique personalities and their own unique style and what colors they love and everything. So I feel like you just play off that and it never becomes boring. Like you're always learning and growing.
How often would you say that you play around like with a creative shoot?
Not nearly enough. Well, now because the dance studio season takes up from, we start prepping already beginning of January. We're full steam ahead with the back end prep. And that goes on until July. So then
you're probably exhausted.
Then you're exhausted, and
Probably don't want to touch a camera.
I've burnt out.
Let alone look at it.
You don't, and it's funny, especially after volume dance school photos, because you're looking at white backdrops for months on end.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the photos, they're still always so different. And I always think, going into a dance season, in the new dance season, okay, how can we be different this year? And we're always thinking of the pose of the year or something that's kind of different. But by the end of the season, you are burnt out, to say the least. But we try we have learned and we've pivoted and learned and tweaked about taking care of ourselves and our bodies throughout the first 6 months of the year.
Right.
To
Rest
be able,
is so important. Rest and even just a mental break too, just to kind of fill up that creativity cup.
Yeah.
So that you can go into the fall and, start experimenting again and just get excited for what's next.
Yes. And I feel like, because I'm going to get back there, I'm going to be able to pick up my camera again. Right now, we are sitting at me holding it for about 15 minutes before the injury takes its place. But in the near future, when I can start to pick that up again, it's the fall and the winter months that are my playtime, like the time that I get to do the individual shoots and book those in. And that is the time to learn and grow and along with the dancers. Yeah. Because that's the individual shoots is when you get that time to be your most creative self and do what you want for your soul.
Exactly. And a lot of the time it is that creative work that we do that gets us those clients. When we post it, people are like, oh, I want that. Or people feel inspired by it. And then I also notice that that's kind of like when I see a lift in maybe inquiries or something.
Yeah. And
so it is kind of a form of marketing in a way, as much as it is education.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is your best form of marketing is when you step outside the box a little bit and go for it and do something that's so different and something you want to do and you've got the time to play around. That's your best marketing.
Absolutely. And you've had some incredible shoots, like incredible opportunities with some big names. Can you share a memorable shoot or one of your favorite shoots that you've done?
Oh, well, one tops the cake for sure that I could probably talk about this for a very long time, but I'll talk about one that tops the cake. And again, because of collaboration and because of leaning into a support system and keeping it close to you, my girl Tasha from Rhythm Jewelry, she had an opportunity to create a jewelry line for Tabitha and Napoleon Duomo.
That's so cool.
Nappy tabs, as they're called. Who, if you don't know who they are, you can.
So you think you can dance? Right?
That is where they started, and now they do everything from. They produce the Grammys. They produce like everything, like the Christmas Disney like shows on TV. They produce endless things for many stars like J-Lo. Like what they do is mind-boggling now in who they are, but that in itself is a different story. But so because of her jewelry line that she was creating for them, I was allowed to go down and they approved me doing photos for them as well for this line of jewelry, which I was very thankful that they trusted me to take these photos for them and that Tasha trusted me to go along with her down there to do these. So we went down to Las Vegas where they live and we shot their product line in Red Rock Canyon, just outside of Las Vegas. And it was getting to know them personally. Like in the one day that we spent with them, they treated us like we have been friends with them their whole lives. Like,
that's nice.
Incredible, right?
Because that I've heard the opposite of like, shooting more of a celebrity client is like you only have so much time and they're maybe impatient. So.
And we only had so much time. Like, can I just talk about this for a second? So we had to rearrange their schedule because of a flight cancellation that brought us into Vegas the day after the day that we were supposed to shoot. So we had to scramble to kind of rebook them, which with their schedule, they had so much going on. It was pretty interesting. So when we arrived at their place, they were in a Zoom with Julianne Hough and Derek Hough, and they were trying to figure out this Disney thing. And then Napoleon was at his kitchen table talking about this like set design that was happening in Qatar for like, we thought Ariana Grande for sure.
That's wild.
Things that were happening. And they welcomed us into their house again, like I said, just like we were friends for forever. So casually in their house, help them pick out their wardrobe. Like Jenny did their makeup. She did a phenomenal job. Jenny from Green Tree Beauty here, again, local. And Tasha worked her magic with the jewelry line that she created, all in their house. And it was such an interesting moment of just kind of stepping outside of it all and just being like, what is happening right now?
That's really cool. Yeah.
Power of social media, you guys. So we then went out to Red Rock Canyon to do their photos, and I brought pro photo lighting out to the canyons, and they trusted us immensely and to do their product shoots, and I had them moving, and they said it was interesting. They were just on that rock that we did their photos for them for Good Morning America with Sophia Carson, and they said that, we were just out here doing this interview like a couple days before, and we're always just in the background, and we're always just like moving and not thinking about stuff, but we're never in front of the camera. We never ever step in front of the camera anymore, and we're so not used to it anymore. So it was a bit of, I would say, a kind of a challenge, I guess, because even though it's nappy tabs and oh my gosh, they've got a presence, we still wanted them to have a moment to be themselves, as if there was no cameras at all in front of them, which they aren't used to anymore. Like they're used to being, there's sound and there's lights and there's cameras and there's everything. So they had a moment to literally just dance together and kind of move and sway together and laugh together and just sit out on the rocks.
Because they're a married couple,
They're
right?
married.
Yeah.
They are an amazing couple. They are such an interesting couple. It's so cool. And that was my experience with shooting them. We left that feeling like, holy, our cups were so full. And interesting because they're just people just like us.
Right. I think we can forget that easily with celebrities, right? And or even just
they started
people
somewhere.
that we're inspired by in photography or whatever. But we're all just people.
We're all just people, and you all have a story, and you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
like them, they just went for it. They just didn't say no to things. They tried.
That's super cool. So what advice would you give to someone that wants to pursue dance photography?
Oh, I would say be fearless. Be fearless in that pursuit to what makes you really want to do it. So you kind of have to just go for it, to be honest. There's so much imposter syndrome is a real thing, right? Like I think we all, as creatives, we all live with imposter syndrome. But if you want to start in dance photography, first of all, hit me up because I could teach you a thing or two. Oh my gosh. And I am definitely where I'm at right now, and the goals I've got set for the future. I need more dance photographers. I need more because the wait list is long for the dance studios. So hit me up and I'll teach you something.
This leads me into my next question.
Okay.
What's next for you? Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years?
Well, I guess because of what has happened to me in the last year and a half, that has made me think nonstop about this, because I have needed to make changes, and the work is still there, even though I've had to change and I've had to pivot the way that I physically shoot, and it's still, the work is growing. So in the next 5 years, I want to be able to take on those studios that are on my wait list. I almost feel kind of bad that I can't take them on. So I do see myself in the next few years having more of a team. Like right now, there's 6 of us. And I would like to have more photographers that I can mentor and I can teach in a way that I can trust to send out under my name. And know that, or I guess have the dance studio owners and teachers know that if I'm sending them out, they can trust that they're going to do a really, really good job. And they're going to be that as much passionate about that experience and creating an environment for those dancers as I am. So that's kind of what I would teach mostly, but I do want to have more photographers underneath my belt and more assistants that I can be able to send out when I can't be there.
Well, this was so great. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Nicole. This has been so easy. It's just so easy just to sit and chat with you. We could probably do this for longer.
There's so much more I could ask you. However, where can people find you and see some of your work?
You know what? The easiest way is Instagram.
And what's your Instagram handle?
It's Tonya Wanner Photography.
Perfect. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Artist Date. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a rating. It really helps more creatives like you discover the show. Don't forget to follow along on Instagram at Artist Date Podcast for behind-the-scenes updates, inspiring content, and more. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Can't wait to connect with you again soon.